Hello, friends. Happy Thursday. Welcome to 3 on Thursday with Crafters Northwest. I am Michelle and I am your hostess today. So, today we are making our final 3 cards for Christmas. I decided to make all 3 cards Christmas cards just in case you needed some more. So, let's go ahead and get started. We have this very simple card to begin with. Now, if you decided that you didn't want to do the envelope, you could actually get 6 cards from one 6x6 piece. Crazy, right? So we are using this piece right here. So it's Cajun Craze and Autumn Leaves on one side and striped on the other. And this comes from the Iconic Celebrations 6x6 paper pad. So many fun papers. We've used that a lot with these Christmas cards, winter cards, whatnot. So we actually are also using the Iconic Imagery stamp set that goes along with it. So let's get started because this is the easiest card, like the easiest card. So we of course have our envelope and here we go. With making both of these cards, this is all that I have left, plus the offcuts from the envelope itself. So that's it. I think that's pretty darn good, actually. So you are going to have your base from Mossy Meadows. You are going to hear Otis in the background. Hello, Otis. We have a 1 inch by 5.5 inch piece of the stripes and 2 by 6. Again, always check your envelope flap before you cut that. And as I said, if you didn't want to do the envelope flap, if you needed more cards, fast, easy, whatnot, trim this down to 1 inch pieces and you will get a total of 6 from just that one 6x6 piece. All right, and then we have a piece of white. This can be any kind of scrap. It can be stamped on one side, maybe not on both sides, but it's just a scrap. So this is 1 1/4 by 5.5. We of course have our inside piece 4 by 5 1/4. We have the next to largest circle from the Spotlight on Nature dies. So it's this one here. And then a tree from that Iconic Imagery cut from Mossy Meadows. So let's go ahead and get started. This, my friends, is super simple. So we have some Mossy Meadow ink. If you wanted to do cards and not envelopes, you could always stamp this tree on the envelope itself. And it would be perfect. All right. With the weird lighting, I cannot see. I know it looks fairly bright on camera, not so much, which is kind of weird. I don't know why I just put that away. I need that still. All right, let's do a tree down here in the corner. And then just to show you what I would do, is I would do a tree just right here in the center. Just like that. And if you wanted, you could do one on the front as well. Easy peasy. All right, done with the tree. No, we are not. Such a fibber. Goodness. All right, bring that tree back. We are going to create our own pattern paper. And we're just going to, ooh, you know what? I'm not even going to try. I'm going to leave it. Because I was not going to get that corrected. So you could do this much more random if you'd like. You could do it more filled in, less filled in. And yes, I have a few here that I won't need because we're going to cover them up. But because, sorry, needed a paper. But because I'm unsure exactly where that circle is going to lie, because I'm going to try and fix that, I decided to go ahead and stamp all the way across. Okay, we're going to call that good. And I guess not technically all the way across. I know that there's a 1-inch strip here, so I'm not stamping there, although some of these will go under that. But like, I didn't need those two. But sometimes it's just easier to keep with a pattern than it is to try to figure out what to not do. If you are doing a ton of them, definitely save yourself the time, figure out what you don't need to do. So for example, if I were to kind of lay this out, right, I could probably skip this tree, still do that one to keep the pattern, but I could skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees for sure. So you could definitely save yourself some time if you're doing a ton of them. All right. So Celebrate is in this stamp set as well. We're just going to put that in the center. And it probably will hit some of the little out cuts, but that's okay. Gotta keep my fingers out of the way. Beautiful. All right, done stamping for this card. Let's put some things together. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and not attach this because we did some stamping. So I'm going to set this off to the side. We are going to glue this on here. And yes, it does stick out. There is a reason for it. So let's go ahead and just going to use some liquid glue. Just to make it faster. and just standing it up on edge to line it up on the outside edge. Alright, and that quick burnish, voila, easy peasy. Now we are going to pull in our basic beige bordered ribbon. I just need to highlight that section, so I always tend to read everything else first. So this is the bordered ribbon, basic beige, and I'm just going to take ever so slightly more than I need. And I just have straight pins to keep it nice and neat. Okay, we are going to take some dry adhesive, i.e. a runner of some sort, hopefully, if it works. Why? There we go. And we are going to line up our ribbon all the way to the edge. And then we're going to wrap it around to the back. We'll fix that here in just a second. Try to not concave your cardstock in the process by pulling too tightly. All right. Beautiful. So now our ribbon is attached, and we can attach onto our card front. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this so that I can make sure it's lined up all the way to the edge. I'm going to give this a few seconds to dry, and I'm just going to go ahead and add my little tree onto our circle. Okay. Letting this sit for just a moment helps it be a little bit less slick when you set it down. So it will still move, but not quite as easily as it would have if you had just immediately set it down. Okay, our card is 90% done. Let's get some let's use some of these sheets because I know that I have only little pieces and I don't want to torture you guys with watching me pull off a ton of those little dimensionals. Okay, definitely could have done this a little bit better, but let's see, before I put this on, I'm going to go ahead and just do this upside down. And I do have a long skinny one. I'm going to kind of just wrap that a little bit so that will sit on the other side of the ribbon. And then we'll just put on the rest of our foam. So these sheets are wonderful because you can die cut them. You can hand cut them. You could probably paper trimmer them. So they come in very, very handy for so very many things. Voila. And then we're going to take the iridescent adhesive backed discs, and they have these red ones. They have the green ones, which we could do. They're a little bit brighter than the green, but I mean, we could. I just thought the pop of color worked really well. Bada bing, we are done. No, we're not. We gotta put this guy in. And then we're done. Now we're done. And that is card number 1. Super simple, easy to do, cute, and you can do with no envelope paper or envelope paper. Okay, next. This card is a few more steps, but I think that you will agree it's adorable. And then we have embossing on the inside as well. So, still super simple. Only one stamp. But you will be using your cut and emboss machine a whole lot more. So, let's take a look at our pieces. Of course, we have the envelope. Okay. So we have our envelope, and we're not actually doing anything with it this time. The embossing didn't work the way I wanted it to for the envelope. It would be upside down or just kind of not enough. So we have a cherry cobbler card base 4¼ by 11, scored at 5½, and then folded. We have 2 pieces that are 4 by 5¼ I have embossed the front one already, and this uses the Painted Trees 3D embossing folder. Okay. So that'll go on the front. The inside, I will show you how we're going to do that. You have I believe this is a 2, yes, by 4¾ piece of cherry cobbler. You have the large and medium trees cut from Peaceful Evergreens, which does come in a bundle with the embossing folder. So we are using the large and middle of the scrawny trees. I don't know what to call them. And then we are using the sentiment and dies from Peaceful Season. We are also using the Birchwood 3D embossing folder on our cherry cobbler. Okay, so let's do our cherry cobbler piece first. And I want the lines on it. I know you can't necessarily tell on the card itself in the video, but I do want the lines to run up and down. You could easily do it this way. That's up to you. Actually, you know what? I'll run this one this way, and we can vote on which one we like better. Okay, so there's that. Can I get this to... I know it'll be blurry, but you can see that they're vertical. Okay, now for our inside, we are going to put this just past the center line. So here's the center line of the tree, the trunk. So we're going to move just past it. We're going to try to keep our paper straight. And then when I put this in the machine and run it through, I'm just going to put my plate here so that I don't have extra pressure on the edge of the plate or the edge of the embossing folder to create that crease line in the cardstock. Okay, so pull this off. open this up, and you can see we have no crease line here. All right, let's stamp. We're going to use cherry cobbler. Thinking of you with warm feelings and a wish for all the merriest. So we are going to center this top to bottom, but we're going to put it slightly to the left on our square. So we're not dead center on the square, we're off to the side. That's it. That is all the stamping we are doing on this card. So let's put this together, shall we? And it goes together very, very simply. I think the hardest part is making sure that everything is on here straight. So then you also need to decide which direction you want your embossing to show, the embossed or debossed. And sometimes that's a really difficult decision. So obviously, since it is an embossed piece, we don't want to press down directly on it. We don't want to unemboss our piece. So we're just burnishing from the back side. All right. Next up, we have our cherry cobbler piece. And we are just going to center that so it has equal space on the top and bottom and right side. Voila. We're going to put some foam tape on the back of our sentiment piece. And then we're going to visually place our large tree so we know where that needs to go. And I'm just going to add some glue down the trunk. Now, because the piece that we're gluing onto is embossed, you are going to have to hold that for just a few seconds so that it doesn't get up and move unexpectedly. attach our sentiment. It's almost squared half and half on the cherry cobbler and the white, but not quite. And then for my tree, I'm going to try to cover up this bottom hole a little bit, not necessarily completely, but a chunk of it, because it feels like it looks a little bit funny if I don't. So I'm not putting glue at the very top and the very bottom because we don't need that there. And then just gluing to the sentiment. Alright, all we have to do now is add our baubles, and these come from the transparent adhesive backed dots, and we are going to use these dark green ones. And then one down here. And voila! Just like that, card number 2 is done. Right? They're fun, easy cards. Great for Christmas. Of course, you could change out the sentiment and have it be basically anything. Thinking of you, happy birthday, so on and so forth. All right. The next card, I actually have 2 samples for you. They are mostly the same. So, can you see what the differences are? Hopefully you can. So there are 2 differences. The first difference is the background color. This one is Misty Moonlight, and this one is Mossy Meadows. And then the other difference is the amount of space that our strips take up. So those are the differences. While there are differences on the papers, that's just how the paper is designed. So our paper today is the Season of Elegance Specialty Designer Series paper. That's not going to focus, of course. And it is these beautiful papers here. Okay, they have gold foil on them, and then the back side does not. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this out of the way. And let me tell you what we have. So we have our card base and envelope. I did get carried away when I was prepping this card, so I have pre-done the envelope with the embossing machine. So just like we did the other pieces. Okay. So we have a thick white card base. We have an extra piece, that's what we have. right, so we have an inside piece that is 4 by 5 1/4, a 1/2 inch strip by 4 for the inside. That's already attached. Like I said, I got carried away on a couple things. I think just those 2 things though. We have, I'll go over those in a moment. Misty Moonlight, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, 3 3/4 by 5 white piece, 3 strips, and you can have them be all the same, or you can do 3 different strips that are all 3/4 by 4. And then we are going to trim this one in half. Does not have to be exactly in half, just mostly. This is a little paper saving hack. And then you have a piece, and this is literally, as you can see, just a scrap that is 1 inch by 3 inches. Now, when I was telling you the difference between these is the amount of space, this one, that scrap piece, was 2 3/4, and this one it's 3 inches. So that is the only difference. If you want them closer together, make this piece a little bit shorter. Okay. Now, I did do my samples with this size here. We could do a larger size. So we might go ahead and stamp both just to compare when we're putting together and see which one we might want to do. So let's go ahead and do our stamping. All right, so our stamping is going to be Peaceful Evergreens. So you will use both the stamp and the dies from this set today. And our greeting is Greetings of the Season for our season's greetings. And then we are going back to Mossy Meadows to start with. Now the sample card that I saw, that I've done some changes, not many, but a few. The sample card I saw used the larger circle, and when I was cutting, I ended up cutting a smaller circle because it actually cut the circles for the previous card and then decided I wanted the other shape instead. So I changed it. So then I had the little circles. So I was like, you know what? Let's use those. And then we're going to use our little splotchy set just to kind of extend to make it be not quite a harsh end to our tree line. Okay, so we are going to let these dry. We are done with our Mossy Meadows ink. We're going to let this dry and move on to putting the rest of our card together and then moving forward. All right, so we are going to emboss this piece with that Birchwood embossing folder that we've already seen. The nice part about this, if you decide you want to do a bunch of these cards, is you can fit 2 of these in the folder at the same time, next to each other, and run both of them through. So it saves you one time through the machine at least, if you're making a lot. So they fit just like that. If you did not want to emboss the envelopes, you could easily stamp this image on the back and it would be super adorable. Okay. So let's attach this piece. We're going to kind of separate the steps, what we're gluing together at what time steps, so that things have a chance to dry. That helps, along with the burnishing, it helps to give things a chance to dry a little bit before you put them together, creating more wetness, which the more wet you put together, the longer it takes to dry, right? We know this. We know how drying works. Okay, so here is our little trick. So we're going to do this with our pieces, and to help make sure that they are straight and evenly spaced, that's where this guy comes in. And we're going to glue it across so that we have our spaces even. Okay, so we are going to use some dry glue. Just like that. That was weird. Okay. So if you are someone who has a hard time making sure pieces like this are straight, which I am sometimes that person, bring in your paper trimmer. Let's see. Move that out of the way. All right, so we're going to bring in our first piece. I'll tell you what. We're bringing our first piece. We're going to attach this about center, right? This being center, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it close. And you want to line up on this edge as best you can. Again, it does not have to be perfect. You don't want to go over the outside. Okay. And then we are going to make sure that we have the back side up for both of these pieces, and have them pushed against the edge, and then move your piece until it's lined up, and then you have them lined up. They are the same here. Lots of words for something that was probably pretty simple for you guys to figure out. Okay, so now I want the center piece to be slightly longer than the other two. And I think that's good. And then again, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I want it slightly longer, but not necessarily a ton longer. And if for some reason these don't feel quite secure enough for you, grab a little piece of washi tape or scotch tape, or something that's a slight bit sticky, and use that to help hold your piece on. Okay, so now this is one piece instead of 4 pieces to glue onto your project. Okay, so for what that's worth, that's what I did to put all of these together. All right, now we are just going to center this on our card base. And again, burnish from the back side. Add glue to our little art piece that we just made. And center that. So I did not drag, I'm just lifting and pressing to get it seated, and then I will come to the back side and give it a little bit more pressure. Okay, we are mostly done with our card. Okay, so we are now going to do some heat embossing. So I have some gold embossing powder. I have an anti-static pouch and Versamark ink. So we're going to do our pouch first. Easy peasy. All right. Our stamp is next. Now this part you will watch the process, but you won't be able to see the stamp on the paper just yet. You know what, I just put my hand on top of this, so I am going to powder this again. All right. So I have a white card base actually underneath here to catch the powder. Beautiful. Now the powder helps make sure that we don't have anything sticking. Where we don't want it. Okay. And then close up the powder before we do anything else. Now I do have, oh, here it is. I do have a little miniature cutting board that I use, and I'm going to heat this up under my desk while we talk. So it's always best to heat up your heating tool before you use it. This melts the powder faster and burns the paper less. So if you just heat it up for 30 seconds to a minute, you should be good. Alright, so I'm just going to hold this down and we're going to go. Once it starts, it goes pretty quickly. And that's it. That's it. Alright, so while those are cooling, let's get our ribbon ready. Now, if you watch my videos, you know I like to be frugal. And sometimes that means I'm going to use less ribbon than I could. Like on our first card, we could have wrapped that ribbon all the way around. I did not want to do that. So I have this piece of the polka dot natural trim, and this is just over 7 inches long. And we're not going to use all of it. Well, we might. We'll see. Alright, so we're going to trim about an inch. So we're going to have an inch piece and then another inch piece. Okay. And then we're going to bring in our tiny attacher. So a mini stapler, a regular size stapler, or whatever works for you. You know what? We will use this whole piece. Alright, so we're going to pretend that we are creating a bow. We're not really. But that gives us a nice shape. Now I'm using the back side of this ribbon. I don't want the polka dots. I want the natural. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. And then we're going to loop and staple. All right. Something keeps buzzing over there, and I don't know what it is. It doesn't make any sense at all. Anyway, all right. So now we have our pieces. We're going to cheat, and we are going to use some glue dots to get them attached. So we are just going to put these on here. Now, when you're doing this, you want the glue dot to be on the side that is going to face outside the card. So when you're putting them on, you want to see the polka dots. Oops, wrong one. See, I almost just did that wrong. All right, so before we go any further, let's decide. Do we want to use the smaller circle and have it be like the rest of them? Or do we want to use the larger circle we're not going to do this, but I like that you can see it more. But I don't like the extra white space around, so we're going to stick with the smaller circle. All right, so let's go ahead and do our ends first. So we are going to do this at a diagonal. So we want the ends to be opposing each other, but we don't want them lined up. Okay. Add our loops, and I don't want my ends as long as the loops, so let's go ahead and reposition that end so it's a little bit shorter. We might have to do the same thing on the other side. Not so much. Okay, so that is how that is going to look. So to finish this off, we're going to do two things. We are going to grab our tear and tape, and we are going to put a little strip over the back side of our ribbons. This will help them make sure that they are going to stay there. All right, and then let's bring in our foam. Before we do that though, let's take off the backers. I know that seems like it might be a little bit counterintuitive, but some of the foam dimensionals might sit on top of that tape, and we don't want to get in our own way. I don't know about you, but I already do that enough for myself as it is. I don't need to add to it. I didn't want to cut more, so. All right, and then this is ready to go onto our card. And just like that, we have card number 3. I love that the greeting plays off of the paper that's on the card. And so, my friends, that is our last Christmas card for 2024. I hope that you have liked these cards. I hope they inspire you to create some of your own Christmas cards. I kind of want to get all of these in here. And just know that they don't have to be a complicated card to be enjoyed by whoever you are sending it to. They're just going to love the fact that you sent them a card. So, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate the time that you take out of your day to watch my videos and interact with me. I hope that you have a fabulous Christmas, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or solstice, or any thing that I didn't list. And I apologize for not listing it. If you need some wrapping suggestions, some bags, I did put up a video just yesterday actually with 4 different bag ideas for you that are super simple, easy to do, but look super cute. So if you need those ideas for this holiday season or Christmases or birthdays or other gift giving events, take a look at that and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. So until next time, I will see you guys later. Have a great holiday. Bye.